Hello, I'm Dr. David Hawkins. I'm the director of the Marriage Recovery Center, and I'm happy to bring you another video on narcissism. You know, I just cannot believe all the attention that the issue of narcissism is getting. In many ways, I think it's getting a bit too much attention, and so I want to debunk some issues that have arisen in regards to narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder. So many people call me up and they say, you know what, Dr. Hawkins, I am so thankful that you see some hope for people with NPD. Well, truth of the matter is, if someone really has NPD or BPD or some severe disorder, then of course the prognosis is going to be more guarded than someone who is on the spectrum of NPD. And so that's what I want to address today, is I want to address those individuals, and that's most, by the way. Most are on the spectrum of NPD. In other words, many of you are watching and you are wondering, okay, if my man has narcissistic personality traits, mild, maybe even moderate, maybe even you're absolutely sure that he's got severe NPD. Well, of course, the more severe a person has the disorder, the more guarded the prognosis. But let's assume for a moment that they are narcissistic personality traits. Let's say that he has some of the traits, the grandiosity, the entitlement, the lack of empathy. He's got some of those qualities, but he's not at the end of the spectrum. So that's who I want to talk to. I want to talk to those of you that would say, you know what, he's got some of the traits, some of the time. Now, that doesn't mean that you haven't tried to make an impact and been unsuccessful. I get it. I get it. You've tried it. You've tried to confront, and he is Teflon, and your interventions have bounced off. But I want to talk to you about that, the issue of interventions. Now, before I do that, let me remind any of you that, my goodness, nobody wants to be labeled anything. NPD, BPD, severely depressed, schizophrenic, whatever. Nobody wants a label, and I really guard against using labels. So can we agree on that for a moment? That let's be careful about throwing out terms. Now, that said, you can say, okay, but he does lack empathy. He does act entitled. When I confront him, he gets his feelings hurt so very easily, and I can't deal with an issue with him without him recoiling or retaliating. Okay, I got it. I got it. The situation is critical. But here's what I want you to think about. It's really one question. One question. Have I really intervened in this process with this problem? Have I really intervened in this process with this problem? Now, you know what enabling means. Enabling means doing anything that would allow a problem to continue. So his short fuse, or his entitlement, or his lack of empathy. Have you really intervened? Have you really set a boundary and said, this is intolerable? It's intolerable. Now, if you've complained, that's not the same as it being intolerable. That means you've complained, you don't like it, got it. But that doesn't mean that you've intervened. So intervention means, you know what, I have defined what's going on, I know what's going on, and I am going to take very definitive, decisive action to stop whatever I can stop. You don't have control over everything, but guess what? You have control over you. You have control over whether or not you stay in the relationship or whether you stay in it permanently. So, for example, you do have the power to say, you know what, I'm only going to stay in this relationship if you address these issues in an effective way. You have that power. Now, many of my colleagues are going to cringe at what I'm about to say. One of the most effective ways of dealing with NPD issues, traits, please be clear about that this is a spectrum from none to mild to moderate to severe. So assuming that it's mild to moderate, then an intervention would look like you saying to him, I'm insisting that we do a combination of individual and couples work to deal with these issues. Couples work is very, very effective in holding these men accountable for change. Again, you're not going to hear that from very many people. But the Marriage Recovery Center, where I've worked with nearly 2,000 couples over the past 8 to 10 years, I've had a lot of success in dealing with men with NPD traits. So again, have you really intervened in this process and this problem? Have you really drawn a line in the sand and said, we must get help, you must get help, you must participate with me in getting help, and then I will decide if I'm going to stay in the relationship. If you will not participate in individual and couples work, then I really do have to pull away from you. Pulling away from you might look like pulling away emotionally at first. It might then look like spending a day away. It might then look like spending a week away. It might then look like spending a month away. I'll tell you something. This is the best kept secret on the planet. You spend a week away from your man, I'll tell you what, he is going to feel it, and he's going to feel it intensely, and then you will find out whether he is willing to participate in a change process. Without intervention, you better believe that he will continue to have NPD issues. But if you are willing to intervene, if you're willing to draw a boundary and say, you know something, I care about you, I love you, but I'm not willing to stay connected to you unless we get involved in individual and couples counseling intensively. All right, I'd love to answer your questions about this issue. There's just a lot of myths going on out there that NPD traits are untreatable. It's just not true. So I would love for you to contact me. My email is drdavid, D-R-D-A-V-I-D, at marriagerecoverycenter.com. My website is marriagerecoverycenter.com. Look me up, look at the work I'm doing, look at the research I've done, and then send me an email. If you want to call me, my phone number is 360-490-5446. There is hope for change, but it begins with you. All right, take care.